Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Joanne Reeves. We are so happy to have you join us this week on the Hemp Show. This weekly show is here to educate you about hemp. We talk a lot about the differences between cannabis and hemp and marijuana. We're distinguishing here that this is specifically the non-psychoactive version. So our main goal for this show is to educate people about the benefits of cannabis without the THC, without the psychoactive portion. A lot of people are still, really new to this conversation. Some of them have been in the conversation for a while. But I was very surprised to learn just about 2.5 years ago when I first started learning about this, that there is a pure medicinal side of cannabis that has nothing to do with THC, which can be beneficial for some people, not so great for other people, but a lot more legal issues with that particular aspect of this plant. But there's a pure medicinal side that includes all the other benefits of cannabis, and it's just miraculous what we've seen happen in the last 2.5 years with regards to the federal government. They initiated the Farm Bill about 4.5 years ago, and then they redid the Farm Bill to basically say that any cannabis plant that has below 0.3% THC is legal federally across all states. And then most excitedly, recently they took hemp out of the Schedule I drug category. So Schedule I drugs are as a category that they created that said they're addictive, they're dangerous, and they have no medicinal value. And up until a few months ago, hemp was in that category, as ridiculous as that seems, because it's not dangerous, it's not addictive, and it has massive value. So obviously there's been a lot of politics and industry, that made this non-psychoactive plant illegal. But here we are making great progress by taking this out of the Schedule I drug category. And it very well could be that marijuana follows suit. There's a lot of pressure for federal legalization for marijuana as well because of what it's doing for seizures and cancer and a lot of other issues, especially with children. So we're primarily talking about hemp here. We're talking about a non-psychoactive plant. We're really wanting to encourage people to reach out to me with questions. I'm happy to chat with any of the listeners and personally answer any of your questions around hemp and CBD and how this can help people and how you might want to get involved in the industry of this. So my phone number is 310-678-9712. And please reach out to me via text or email. I'm also very committed to bringing on amazing guests who will share their experience working with this plant. And I'm very, very thrilled today to have Dr. Dave Shirazi as our guest. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my sincere pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so Dave and I've been following you on Facebook and loving the posts you have. I think we have a lot of mutual friends. And I'm, rather than specifically going through and highlighting all of your background and everything, I'd love for you to give us a little bit of a summary about what's your training, how are you contributing, and you are local here in LA, so for those of our listeners that are in the Los Angeles area, this is going to particularly pertain to you, the things that Dr. Dave is specifically helping people with are very, very common issues that are happening for so many, and the offering is really, really quite unique. So I know you have a background in dentistry training. You also have training as an acupuncturist. You're a sleep expert, and you've got a lot of the kind of Western and Eastern things together. I think you've got is it craniosacral training, and so I'm going to stop with my summary there and say, tell us a little bit about you. We're so excited to have you today.
Oh, thank you. I love your enthusiasm. It's so great.
Okay.
I love what I do, too. It's a real blessing, not just to do the work, but to educate as many people as possible so that they have more options to them. They don't ever feel trapped or cornered or feel like they only have one or two options. You know, if I, as a patient myself, I would love to be given as many options, and of course, I'm going to want to choose the options with the least amount of side effects and consequences. So,
absolutely.
Everything you said is right on. So I became a dentist in the year 2000. I became a licensed acupuncturist in 2006, an Oriental medical doctor, and then in between 2011 and 2016, I was a licensed sleep technologist. I did a hospital residency, one in China and one in Korea in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And most of the continuing ed I have, about 2,000 hours, is focused on pain, sleep, and what we call functional orthodontics. And like you said, my office, I have an office in Brentwood, and I have an office in Thousand Oaks.
Awesome. Functional orthodontics. Tell us about that. That's something I never heard of.
Yeah, so functional orthodontics, just like functional medicine. When someone has, let's say, crowded dentition, they have a lot of crowding, a narrow arch, and things like that. The traditional model in the past has been a dental-focused model. So we'll say, as ridiculous as it sounds, they'll say, this patient was born with too many teeth. And so the only way they can get all those teeth to fit in the arch is if they amputate, usually 4 bicuspids, or shave down and slenderize some of the teeth for, like, let's say, Invisalign or aligner technology. My philosophy for most patients, both adult and children, is to bring the palate, bring the mandible where it was intended to be. And when I say intended, when we look at skulls prior to the Industrial Revolution, the majority of these skulls have very straight teeth, have all their wisdom teeth, and have plenty of space behind their wisdom teeth. Okay? So obviously that is our real genetics, not, modern society with, modern diet with refined and softer foods and lack of breastfeeding for that matter. So our intention is to develop the arches, both top and bottom, but especially the upper, and make room for all the teeth. So I'm not going to say I've never extracted teeth, but for me, it's about 1 in 1,000 patients. It's a very, very rare phenomenon for me to do that. But also the palate is the floor of the nose. And when we have a narrow palate, a high arch palate, that is when we're getting into sinus congestion, nasal congestion, and deviated septum. And we can see it with pre- and post-CAT scans that when we expand the palate, which is like the crux of functional orthodontics, when we do that, we increase the nasal breathing, which then allows the tongue to swallow on the roof of the mouth, which is the way we're supposed to swallow, and keep the lips shut, especially when we're sleeping, so we don't mouth breathe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so when you're saying expand the palate, what do you mean by that?
So, expand, exactly what that sounds. So we usually use very light wire functional appliances. I predominantly prefer the ALF. Been doing it since 2001. And the ALF goes on the teeth, and it's one soft wire that goes on the palate side, so you can't really see it. Okay. And we just put very light activation, a very light activation on the wire that instead of moving the teeth, it allows those molars that are engaged into that palate to help move the palate.
Got it.
Right? So it reshapes the roof of the mouth, and yes, that includes adults.
Got it. And so you mentioned diet and you mentioned processed and softer foods and breastfeeding. Can you explain a little bit about that? Go ahead.
Yeah. So mammals are designed to breastfeed from a nipple, a human nipple. And when we do that, and the entire conversation about the content of mother's breast milk is a whole separate episode unto itself. The fats, the amino acids, the immunoglobulins given to the child make up over 80% of the child's immune system.
Wow.
And in that first year of life, it's only good for 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, let's say the mom, for whatever reason, has to stop breastfeeding at 6 months. 2 weeks later, that immunity is gone. So we have to get it through other means. Now, you could use like a goat probiotic to put in formula, for example, to help get the probiotics back and to help get the nutrients back. But the mom's breast milk is the very best thing. Now, when I talk about breastfeeding, though, in the context of functional orthodontics and expanding the palate, I'm actually speaking to the mechanical aspect of suckling from a breast, a human breast.
Yeah.
And what happens in that process is the lips try to make a seal. They latch on to create a seal, an O-ring, if you will. The child's tip of the tongue goes to the base of the nipple and squeezes the base of the nipple up against the hard palate. Okay? And it has a waving motion action, which kind of milks the nipple itself. Yeah? And that's how we learn how to swallow properly. But when we do that, by the tongue learning to live on the palate, when we do that, it allows the tongue is actually developing the palate. Right? When, in fact, we go into using a baby bottle, the nipple, no matter how great it is, the nipple is always going to be harder than mommy's nipple. So it actually forces the tongue down. And the baby actually sucks in using the buccinator or cheek muscles. And that suctioning action pulls the palate narrower and keeps the tongue from reaching the roof of the mouth. The tongue literally can't reach because that nipple is in the way. That makes sense?
Yeah. Do you have like a YouTube video where you talk about all this?
Not on that in particular.
We need one of those.
Maybe on my website. But if you go look up YouTube about what natural breastfeeding is supposed to, it's certainly not a secret.
Right.
It's certainly not a discovery of mine. This is in our circles. This is well common knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way you're describing it, though, because you're bringing in a lot of very specific expertise. I mean, I breastfed each of my kids for over 3 years.
God bless you. That is not easy.
Yeah, well, it totally worked for me. I mean, I would say that my whole experience with mothering and birthing and it was very intuitive. I just kind of knew intuitively, and I drew in the right people, I guess, that corroborated my stuff. I mean, I went from I took Bradley natural childbirthing classes to La Leche League, which was totally amazing. I was the only person who went to La Leche League for 2 years, and I didn't have any problems with breastfeeding. I just loved the community. And, they're all about attachment parenting. They're all about extended breastfeeding. They're all about, they're not big on vaccinating. They're not big on doctors. And they really teach you that, like, you're the expert on your baby is how I felt.
That's lovely.
It's beautiful, and every pregnant woman I meet everywhere, I say, go to La Leche League, learn about this, develop a community, because apparently, like, 40% of women have issues with nursing, and they quit because of some small issue. Yeah. And from what you're saying, if you're not breastfeeding, your child's, their tongue doesn't know what to do, their swallowing isn't good, their mouth isn't shaped in the right way necessarily. I mean, it has some pretty catastrophic results, besides the fact that their immune system isn't getting what it needs.
Yeah, and then the alternatives, having a soy-based artificial breast milk is probably not a good idea. especially considering that the majority of soy has been genetically modified and has not been tested in any length of time. Genetically modified food from the manufacturer has never been tested for more than 3 months for any health consequences, and that's worrisome.
Right.
And that's a whole other. I think that's a whole other conversation.
Right. We'll just keep touching on each of these. But the goat milk.
But goat milk is 99.9% identical to human breast milk. Wow. And if a wet nurse, back in the day, if a wet nurse wasn't available, they would use goat milk with good results.
That's great.
Now, in addition to the goat milk, they ended up using pacifiers with lead in it, which had a whole other slew of problems. But again, that's a whole other conversation as well.
Pacifiers with lead. This is crazy. And, I really only started learning about some of these toxicity issues in the last couple of years. It was really my introduction to CBD and to hemp, really, that got me into learning a lot about functional medicine. I didn't even know what functional medicine meant 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe you can give us a definition about what's functional medicine, what are the primary aspects of it, and how does it specifically relate in your practice?
So, functional medicine, as a definition in my understanding, has to do with understanding when someone has a condition, a disease, infection, or otherwise, what led up to this situation, right? So people usually don't get an infection because someone sneezed on them or they cut themselves and they got themselves dirty. They get an infection because they had a weakened immune system to begin with.
There you go.
Not enough sleep, not enough vitamin D and A, not enough gut flora, bacterium. These are all factors. And so someone who practices functional medicine would focus more on that. And just so you all know, a functional medicine physician is a conventional physician that's been trained by naturopathic principles. The term naturopathic doctor is kind of a misnomer. It should have been, that's the original functional medicine, is naturopathic medicine. So going to a properly licensed naturopathic doctor is, I think, one of the best ways of treating most health problems, and indeed gut problems. That's actually their specialty. They're like gut experts.
Gut experts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my understanding is what I often say to people now that I'm learning about this, because I talk to a lot of people about their issues, and I talk to them about how CBD might contribute by reducing inflammation and all the things that can do, and I'm going to ask you to comment on that in a second. But I often say to people, you need to find a really good functional medicine doctor, integrative medicine doctor, naturopathic medicine doctor. You need to find somebody who knows a lot about this and not just be seeing your Kaiser doctor or your traditional medicine doctor, because they only know certain things and they don't know other things.
Yeah. I'll go on an aside on that. I want to speak to that for a moment.
Okay.
So we have something called evidence-based medicine. That means we look at research. We like to look at longitudinal studies. We like to look at financially compromised studies, meaning there isn't some kind of conflict of interest in the study, financial conflict of interest, or any conflict of interest, really. And we want to look at it for both Western and Eastern modalities. So I like practitioners, just as you said, I like practitioners that are cross-trained, because there's some things that work better in using one medicine than the other. But in both contexts, you have to always follow the medicine, follow the research on the medicine. Okay? So it is not uncommon for even a functional medicine doctor to recommend chemo for someone in cancer, but in conjunction with other modalities. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean chemo is the greatest thing ever. It's certainly not. But at the same time, you follow the research. Does the research show that this particular chemo works for this particular species of cancer? It does. Fantastic. Use it and try to control the side effects with some adjunctive medicine like you just described. And then work with someone that understands that medicine. I look at research, if not daily, at least weekly. In not just my field of pain and sleep and functional ortho, but other fields, because I always find there's always some kind of overlap. I gave cancer as an example. I don't treat cancer. That's not really something that my practice is focused on.
Right.
But it's important to have an understanding of it so I know if I see it, where to send the patient off to so that they can get the proper support.
Right.
But my methodology is going to be the same, whether I'm treating pain or sleep or I'm using CBD or I'm recommending CBD, non-THC CBD. I'm always going to say, okay, well, this is a great use of it, or you know what, I don't recommend it for you.
Awesome. Great. So thank you. Thank you for that. That's really, really helpful. And I think, for all of us, whatever it is that you're doing in the world, however it is that you're moving in the world, we know a lot of people. We know people that are struggling and suffering. We want to be able to bring people information that's really, really helpful. There's a lot of sort of mainstream programming where people just go to their doctor, whoever with their insurance is, and they don't necessarily know that there's other alternatives. And we started this conversation out by saying we want to give people all the options. So we're going to take a short break and come back with our wonderful guest today, Dr. Dave Shirazi.
Coach Kev believes everyone is a leader and has a kingdom to build. He wrote Kingdom Business, Licensed to Lead, to give you his secrets to leadership and to learn how to use the 4 pillars and hemp oil to become a committed, passionate leader of your life. Get the book, Kingdom Business, Licensed to Lead by Kevin J. Suber at Amazon.com. You'll be glad you did. So do it now. Kingdom Business at Amazon.com or call 424-645-7823. That's 424-645-7823.
Women face more challenges today, resulting in more stress, anxiety, and body imbalances. Women need a little more support, and that's where Recept may help. Organically grown and processed with nanosonicated technology, this THC-free hemp product is a great balancing tool. It may aid a woman's hormonal balance from PMS to conception, from pregnancy to menopause. So women, get your calm on. Order Recept today. Just text or call 310-678-9712.
You're interested in trying hemp for healing, but you really don't know where to turn for answers. That's when you call cannabis nurse Jamie Rollins-Smith. She'll help you design an individualized, effective plan for utilizing just the right cannabis medicine, whole food nutrition, and mindfulness to achieve your personal wellness goals. As a cannabis consultant, she even offers services and online courses for nurses. Find out more about Jamie Rollins-Smith at TrueHealthConsulting.com. Or better yet, call her at 561-377-0220.
After 80 years, the government has finally broken open this industry. Imagine tapping into an industry that is expected to grow from $60 million to $22 billion in just 2 years. The industry is hemp. This just might be what you're looking for. To find out how you could be an international distributor with one of the fastest growing hemp companies, call or text 310-678-9712 now. That's 310-678-9712.
Created by nature and proven by science, Recept Hemp Extract is something you've probably never experienced before. This organic, non-THC product not only has CBD, but Recept has the latest and highest CBG content. CBG may aid sleep, pain, digestion, mood, so many things. Get your broad-spectrum Recept today. Call or text 310-678-9712 now, or visit lovinglife.primemybody.com.
You're listening to HealthyLife.net. Millions of listeners know the secret. Now you do too. Positive talk 24 hours a day, every day.
Thanks so much for joining us today. This is Joanne Reese, and you are live with The Hemp Show. We have Dr. Dave Shirazi as our guest today. He is a dentist. He is a functional medicine practitioner. He has incredible training both on the eastern and the western side. And, Dave, I'd love to hear a little bit about, tell us about your facilities, who you're primarily serving in these facilities, what are the issues that people are coming to you, and what are some of the treatments that you're recommending with the best success?
Oh, great. Okay, well, my practice is basically 1/3 chronic pain, meaning from the neck up, like jaw pain, tension type headache, migraine type headache, oral facial pain like trigeminal neuralgia, cervical dystonia, and things of that nature. 1/3 snoring and sleep apnea, and 1/3, like we discussed earlier, functional orthodontics for adults and children.
Great.
So that's, yeah. And that's our focus, and that's what I absolutely love doing. Helping someone get proper rest and proper good night's sleep, there's nothing like it. Getting someone out of pain and they can function with the rest of their lives, there's really nothing like it. It's just wonderful.
So you're saying jaw pain, oral pain, and did you also say neck pain?
Yeah. Correct.
So they're having pain associated with their mouth, their jaw, their not, and that could also be their neck. Like, what symptoms would people be having, and how would they? What would be some examples of what specifically they're coming to you for, and what treatments are you offering them?
Okay, so like in the context of pain,
right?
The majority of people suffering from tension type headache have a neck issue, and specifically it's the greater auricular and greater occipital nerves being pinched between C2 and the skull. And that is why sometimes they'll see a chiropractor and their headache will go away. But then by the next day or the day after, it comes back. This is because they've been clenching their teeth all night long. Right? So oftentimes, the very first thing to go away in our treatment, if people have been suffering from tension type headache, the first thing to go is their tension type headache with our appliance therapy. And of course, we do acupuncture. For people that are afraid of needles, we use non-penetrating acupuncture. Migraine type headache, that takes a little bit longer. That's a little bit more of an extensive TMJ problem, but still very conservative treatment with oral appliances, lasers, and acupuncture. The number 2 cause of ear dysfunctional issues, be it ear pain, ear congestion, tinnitus, and even vertigo, are TMJ disorders. Right?
TMJ disorders.
The number 1 for all of those is infectious, and the number 2 is TMJ disorders. So, for example, it is a lot of my patients will come in, and they don't even have awareness that they have a jaw problem, and there's a reason for that. But they don't have awareness that they go to their ENT, he takes a look in the ear, and he's like, there's nothing going on with your ears. Your ears are fine. They're like, no, I think I have an infection. I think I have this. I really feel it. And they're like, well, I heard your jaw clicking and popping. I heard some sandy sounds. You should see a dentist. Right? And ENTs usually don't know of someone that just does TMJ disorders. They just say, oh, go see a regular dentist. But 95% of regular dentists have almost no training in TMJ disorders.
Right.
Almost none. So they'll just kind of like go to just like a simple night guard, which is fine for protecting your teeth, but it usually makes the problem worse instead of better.
Wow.
So many times I'll have patients with ear issues. They'll come in, all the ones I mentioned, they'll come in and say, listen, my ENT sent me here. I don't think I have a jaw problem. And then we'll take a CAT scan in my office, and I'll show them and go, you know you have a jaw problem. See where I pressed here and it's really painful? Yeah, that's not supposed to hurt. And
when you say they have a jaw problem, that means they're clenching their teeth, or there's a missshaping, or what does that mean?
The majority of the time, it's from clenching. So the first thing we need to do is to stop that nightly habit. Sometimes people clench during the day. We need to stop that too. But when it's a very chronic issue and you have swelling in the joint, clicking and popping in the joint, or the sandy sound in the joint is actually arthritis. Osteoarthritis. We need to actually stop it with an appliance, because here's the thing. If you sprained your ankle, you would just put weight on the other ankle when you walk.
Right.
Or you would stay off your feet altogether, as an example. When it comes to the jaw, you don't ever get a break.
Right.
So even ignoring the clenching of the teeth at night, the other 16 hours during the day, we swallow 2,000 to 3,000 times a day. Every time we do, our teeth come together, and that means when our teeth go to their maximum hitting, that means the jaw is being pushed up against the skull at its maximum hitting. And then we chew our food, and then we talk, and, we get along socially. So the jaw is one of those things where it never gets a break, right?
Yeah.
Even as an acupuncturist, and, I'm doing more functional therapy through acupuncture than anything else, but even an acupuncturist treating a TMJ disorder, or a chiropractor treating a TMJ disorder, or a physical therapist treating a TMJ problem is almost never going to have success in the long term. And that's because the jaw never gets a break, right? The exception is if it's an acute problem, right? If you had a slip and a fall, someone punched you, you bit on a fork wrong, something like that where it's just you've never had a jaw problem before, and then something happened and now you do, then it's possible to go to a chiro, a PT, an acupuncturist, and get some relief, okay? But that's rare. The majority of TMJ issues are chronic.
Chronic, right.
And without something intervening on a more permanent basis, like with an appliance, all the other modalities will be temporary at best.
So just to review, we're speaking primarily about chronic pain. We're talking about the issues that can go along with that around jaw, migraines, around having chronic jaw issues, and also sleep, which we didn't touch on yet, and a variety of different techniques that you're using. And I just want to circle back around to talking about CBD, because we're on the hemp show here. And so I'd love to hear about how did you learn about CBD? How's that work involved in your practice? Because a big plus for me is to reach out to practitioners and say, look, this is going to go along with whatever else you're doing. How can we bring some education and some information and awareness to this? And before we start, I'm just going to say we're going to take a really short break. We'll be right back here to talk and continue with this. Thanks so much.
The best herbalist aromatherapist crafted body creams and herbal remedy products are now available to you. Completely organic, completely chemical free, and here's the secret, they're made with love. Vitality and rejuvenation seeps through with every application of Gaia's Garden Bath and Botanica products. Get your Gaia's Garden Bath and Botanica products today. Visit artfire.com and search for Gaia's Garden Bath and Botanica. That's artfire.com. Search for Gaia's Garden Bath and Botanica, and you're there.
After 80 years, the government has finally broken open this industry. Imagine tapping into an industry that is expected to grow from $60 million to $22 billion in just 2 years. The industry is hemp. This just might be what you're looking for. To find out how you could be an international distributor with one of the fastest growing hemp companies, call or text 310-678-9712 now. That's 310-678-9712.
You're interested in trying hemp for healing, but you really don't know where to turn for answers. That's when you call cannabis nurse Jamie Rollins Smith. She'll help you design an individualized, effective plan for utilizing just the right cannabis medicine, whole food nutrition, and mindfulness to achieve your personal wellness goals. As a cannabis consultant, she even offers services and online courses for nurses. Find out more about Jamie Rollins Smith at TrueHealthConsulting.com. Or better yet, call her at 561-377-0220.
Women face more challenges today, resulting in more stress, anxiety, and body imbalances. Women need a little more support, and that's where Recept may help. Organically grown and processed with nanosonicated technology, this THC-free hemp product is a great balancing tool. It may aid a woman's hormonal balance from PMS to conception, from pregnancy to menopause. So women, get your calm on. Order Recept today. Just text or call 310-678-9712.
Humans aren't the only ones that can benefit from hemp. Animals can too. Hemp Health for Pets was specially formulated for dogs and cats. Safe and effective, your pets can feel balanced in body and mind with Prime My Pet Hemp and Health Blend. It has organic CBD and yucca, hawthorn, fish oil, and red algae, making Hemp and Health Blend perfect to aid your pets' inflammation, skin conditions, joints, and more. Get yours today. Just text or call 310-678-9712. That's 310-678-9712.
Eclectic talk with a positive twist. HealthyLife.net.
Thanks so much for joining us today. This is Joanne Reese, and you are live with The Hemp Show. If you're just tuning in, feel free to click on the on-demand podcast so that you can hear the first half of our interview. Our guest today, Dr. Dave Shirazi, who has 2 different locations in Los Angeles. He is a functional medicine practitioner who's using functional orthodontics. He's helping people with sleep issues, chronic jaw issues, with a variety of different modalities, including acupuncture, and very, very different than traditional orthodontics. Much more in harmony with sort of looking at the way your body naturally works, which is what this whole conversation of functional medicine is. And so, Dave, you learned about CBD recently. How did you learn about that, and how have you incorporated that in your practice?
So, as an Oriental medical doctor, we learn usually outside of school about the herbal uses of CBD, because it's an herb. And then, unfortunately, there is a lot of research on it. There's a lot of evidence on it, especially as it relates to pain and inflammation. So, for example, we were talking about people with tension-type headaches and et cetera. Once we break the pain with the appliances, if someone needs more ongoing support, I do recommend the non-THC CBD oil to help with the inflammation. We see that being very, very helpful. So I was also talking about sleep apnea. Well, for sleep apnea, with all these interruptions we get from the snorts and the snoring and the choking episodes, and that goes for the bed partner as well. Bed partners who don't have apnea but they hear their spouses snoring and choking have all the markers of sleep apnea, by the way, all the negative markers of sleep apnea.
Like secondary smoke, huh?
At a very slightly reduced rate. So, for example, in one large cohort study in the Cleveland Clinic, they found that the bed partner with sleep apnea had an average of 27 arousals an hour from the snoring, presumably, in the apnea. The bed partner with no snoring or apnea had 21 arousals an hour. So we definitely see that when we treat one, usually the bed partner gets a lot of benefit as well. But coming back to CBD, so obviously just making sure your airway's clear, not being interrupted, both externally, like with a noisy bed partner or barking neighbor's dog or what have you, but also internally. We can look to CBD to help us sleep, but only in certain ways. So the research on CBD and sleep is definitely not vast. There's way more evidence on inflammation and pain and cancer on CBD than there is sleep. But just what I do know, and this is a very big generalization, that the effect of CBD on sleep is very, very similar to the effect of red wine. So if someone has anxiety around sleep, it can reduce the anxiety. If someone has trouble falling asleep, they can sometimes fall asleep better using CBD. However, just like red wine, we're finding that they're not getting into the deeper stages of sleep, the REM and the delta, as well when they're on CBD as they are without. much like we see with red wine.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've heard different things, though, so I'm a little curious about that. Because well, I mean, I've been sharing CBD with people for about 2.5 years. I've shared it with thousands of people. And it's remarkable how many will say, I slept through the night for the first time in 5 years. Or when I wake up in the morning, I feel so much more refreshed. I feel like I'm getting in. I thought this specifically helps people get into the deeper sleep and stay there longer. In a similar way that people taking CBD right before they meditate will get into state quicker because it's calming and soothing everything. So it's kind of taking people out of the fight or flight, putting them back into the parasympathetic so that the body goes into rest, restore, repair, renew.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So you have to realize when you hear like great anecdotal stories like you just mentioned, we always have to compare that individual now to the way they were before. Right? So it's probably very, very true that they're getting more restorative sleep than before. Right? But when we look at like more comprehensively, more in large scale, and actually look at their sleep before and after, that's what we generally observe. But it always depends. And if you're not getting good sleep because you're in your fight or flight, then you're not going to get good sleep, and you're not going to get good staging in your sleep as well. And CBD will certainly help with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're recommending it to your patients, and we're saying CBD, and we're mentioning CBD is one cannabinoid amongst a lot from a plant called cannabis. Ideally, what we really want is the entourage effect, right? We want a lot of cannabinoids and terpenes combined together synergistically. So we really don't want an isolate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're gonna have a better result if we have more cannabinoids and terpenes. But we're using the term CBD. But what we really want is a CBD, CBG, rich hemp extract that includes as many of the cannabinoids and terpenes as possible. And we also want something that is highly pure and highly potent. Yes.
Yeah.
So, how did you? There's a particular brand that you're recommending along those criteria, because I know as a doctor, as a practitioner, it matters to you, right? You're not saying go to a dispensary and buy whatever product you get or go get it online.
Yeah. So and it's the brand that you use as well. It's the Prime My Body brand.
Yeah.
Their founder is a very strong, legitimate PhD biologist, scientist, who does a lot of research, tests his products before, during, and after. He actually was the one that coined the term leaky gut syndrome. So I've known of his research. I've known of him for a really long time. I was very, very excited when he got into the industry. And I know just when you know his name is Chris Chase. When you know his name, like, okay, well, any product that he has, I think is going to stand the test of time.
Right. So it's
Brandon.
Awesome. Yes. So how has it been incorporating this in your practice? How have you seen this helping with the other modalities that you're using? How's it helped?
Yeah. So with my pain and sleep patients. So if someone has chronic pain, usually with chronic pain, it's not an overnight poof, it's gone. It takes a few weeks. It takes a couple months. It takes some time. And as an adjunct to getting the inflammatory markers down, getting their body to repair itself intrinsically, I'll say, maybe you might need some support from some CBD. This is an over-the-counter product. For patients like we discussed that have, we have a lot of patients that are very kind of stressed right now. There's a lot going on politically and economically in our country and throughout the whole world. And, people take that to bed. And we certainly don't have a media system that is congruent with just sharing facts, make up their mind. They're really more kind of baiting people and trying to get people to get on sides and attack one another. So that stress will lead to people not being able to fall asleep or stay in a good stage of sleep. So on these patients, I'll say, maybe we should really support that. Maybe we should try some CBD and see if that calms you down. And we're seeing great results with it. It's a great adjunct therapy.
I love it. And so we're going to take a short break, and then we've got a couple minutes more with Dr. Shirazi. We'll be right back.
You're interested in trying hemp for healing, but you really don't know where to turn for answers. That's when you call cannabis nurse Jamie Rollins Smith. She'll help you design an individualized, effective plan for utilizing just the right cannabis medicine, whole food nutrition, and mindfulness to achieve your personal wellness goals. As a cannabis consultant, she even offers services and online courses for nurses. Find out more about Jamie Rollins Smith at TrueHealthConsulting.com, or better yet, call her at 561-377-0220.
Women face more challenges today, resulting in more stress, anxiety, and body imbalances. Women need a little more support, and that's where Recept may help. Organically grown and processed with nanosonicated technology, this THC-free hemp product is a great balancing tool. It may aid a woman's hormonal balance from PMS to conception, from pregnancy to menopause. So women, get your calm on. Order Recept today. Just text or call 310-678-9712.
Humans aren't the only ones that can benefit from hemp. Animals can too. Hemp Health for Pets was specially formulated for dogs and cats. Safe and effective, your pets can feel balanced in body and mind with Prime My Pet Hemp and Health Blend. It has organic CBD and yucca, hawthorn, fish oil, and red algae, making Hemp and Health Blend perfect to aid your pet's inflammation, skin conditions, joints, and more. Get yours today. Just text or call 310-678-9712. That's 310-678-9712.
After 80 years, the government has finally broken open this industry. Imagine tapping into an industry that is expected to grow from $60 million to $22 billion in just 2 years. The industry is hemp. This just might be what you're looking for. To find out how you could be an international distributor with one of the fastest growing hemp companies, call or text 310-678-9712 now. That's 310-678-9712.
Created by nature and proven by science, Recept Hemp Extract is something you've probably never experienced before. This organic, non-THC product not only has CBD, but Recept has the latest and highest CBG content. CBG may aid sleep, pain, digestion, mood, so many things. Get your broad-spectrum Recept today. Call or text 310-678-9712 now, or visit lovinglife.primemybody.com.
You're listening to HealthyLife.net. Millions of listeners know the secret. Now you do too. Positive talk 24 hours a day, every day.
Hello, everyone. This is Joanne Reese on The Hemp Show. So happy to have you here with us today. What a beautiful, rich interview this has been. If you're just joining us, please click on the on-demand podcast page. I hope this is an interview that you will want to share with your friends. So many of us know of people that are struggling with chronic pain, potentially tension migraines, people that may or may not know that they are grinding their teeth at night, that they have chronic jaw issues. Our guest today has shared so much with us about how do you bring the functional medicine perspective into looking at some of these issues. Very different perspective from, maybe somebody who hasn't had that kind of training and is coming more from a straight, even chiropractic viewpoint, or a straight Western medicine trained EMD doctor, an ear, nose, and throat doctor. But there's an opportunity, I think, for us to have a larger conversation where we're including holistic treatments, looking at how the shape of our palate, or teeth issues, jaw tension can be contributing to these things. So thanks so much for being with us, Dr. Shirazi. And you were just mentioning a little bit about how you've incorporated recommending CBD hemp in with your to your patients, really focusing on a very high-quality product, a highly absorbable, high-purity product, how that's helped with reducing inflammation, lowering stress levels, and helping people, feel calmer, have better night's sleep. And I love that you said, there's a lot going on in the world. If you're watching the news every day, boy, it's like you're sort of mainlining this collective.
Just don't watch the news anymore.
Just don't watch the news. That's what I tell people. Put your television in the garage.
Yeah, no.
Cut your stress level
you should
in
just
half.
call it the bad news.
The bad news.
Just avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's an energy about creating more stress, inflaming our emotions, pitting us against each other, politically, economically, country to country, religion-wise. It's like you can get caught up in this, getting programmed by media. And I often say to people, like, cannabis, she's here to save us. Like, the legalization of cannabis, of hemp, in terms of this plant being like a bioremediation plant, right? So, like, cannabis sucks toxins out of the soil. She's here to help detoxify the soil. And also, I often say to people that it does the same thing in our bodies. It sucks toxins out of our cells. It's a cellular detox. And from my perspective, on a like spiritual level, when inflammation goes down and all your other functionality goes up, and you're not like a flame anymore in your brain, in your gut, higher level functionality opens up. Like, people can think more clearly. When you're in fight or flight all the time, right, your brain doesn't work properly.
That's right.
Yeah. So I just wonder how you feel like, how does cannabis, how does hemp, how does it contribute to our higher level functionality? And I'd also love to hear you comment. We didn't talk about the gut at all, and about how beneficial this is for gut health. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, the inflammatory function of it doesn't, start at the blood system. It really starts at the gut first. Plus, it's a fantastic, if you actually get the plant itself, it's a fantastic fiber. It's a fantastic prebiotic. It's great for the gut. And as I'm sure you've discussed in other podcasts before, we have what's called an endocannabinoid system. We evolved on this planet. We evolved on a planet that was rich in cannabis. Our bodies are designed to take in cannabinoids. That's not a myth. That's not a theory. That's undisputed fact that we have what's called endocannabinoid system in our body, which has only receptors on it that can be locked in with CBD. Okay, all of the CBDs actually, including THC. But our body being evolved with it has adapted the use of it. And then when we went into eating animals, these animals, these feral animals, were eating feral hemp. And the CBD was getting into their tissues, and we were eating the animal that was loaded with endocannabinoids. Okay? So our bodies are very well, and our mind is very well suited and primed to receive CBD. And I don't think there's a tissue that I can think of. The gut, the dermis, the blood system, the brain. I've never seen anything on the kidney side, but I can't imagine any aspect of our body that doesn't long for it.
We long for it. So, and we have a deficiency in it, yes. I know there's a lot of, if you Google search the endocannabinoid system, you're going to find quickly that we're not making enough on our own. It's definitely something we need to supplement with.
That's right. We do make it on our own, but we don't make it nearly enough. And things like stress, things like poor sleep, things that put us in the fight or flight make it either impossible to produce or impossible to store in the body. So depending on the individual. So,
Got it.
like we talked about this political economic times, we live in a bit of a stressful period of time. Hopefully that we'll look back on fondly as something that we needed to have in order to move on to the next level.
Right.
But it's okay to support yourself, your mind and body and soul, by taking something that your body actually goes well with.
Fantastic. And is there any conditions that you know of when people shouldn't be using this? Is it safe for everybody all the time for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any studies on children other than very small studies on children with seizures. But I have not seen any toxicity. The only toxicity studies that I've seen have focused on THC, right? But even then, it should be pointed out, even on the THC negative studies, they gave isolated THC in crystalline form in ridiculous quantities to the subjects. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That is not how THC is received on this planet.
Right.
THC is with CBD. And even when THC has a psychoactive, negative psychoactive component, it is actually reeled in by the CBD in the very same plant.
Right. Yeah. So those are a little bit misleading.
You have to be able to understand the data. Even the negative THC studies, in my point of view, are quite tainted.
So, Dave, we're wrapping up now. How do people get in touch with you?
Oh, thanks for asking. So we have two websites, tmjla.com and TMJ Conejo from our Thousand Oaks office, and Conejo is spelled Conejo. Both are in excellent locations. The Brentwood office is on San Vicente and Bunday, and our Thousand Oaks office is right next to the Oaks Lawn. So we're very easy to get a hold of. TMJLA.com and TMJ Conejo. So please reach out to Dr. Dave Shirazi, fantastic practitioner to recommend people to. I'm always saying to people, you need to find a great functional medicine doctor. You need to find a great integrative medical doctor. So grateful that you created the time to come in here and share your wisdom. And my goal is that this gets out far and wide, and that we can bring in other practitioners that are doing amazing things to educate them about how to incorporate hemp and CBD into their practices. So reach out to me as well if you have additional questions at 310-678-9712. Have a blessed day. Thanks, everybody, for being here.